This is what's been keeping me going. So I just got to get through to 8. Just got to get through to 8.
Oh, that's nice. That's so lovely.
Should we try again and see how we
Yeah.
go? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Cara.
Hi, Vicky. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yes, very well, thank you. We seem to have worked out any little glitchy gremlins in the
So
connection here. So
far.
yeah, I think we're doing
Yeah, we'll
good.
see how we go. I was just saying to you how much I've been looking forward to this recording, because it's such a cool like all our ladies are cool, but I don't know, I just feel so invigorated by this story, so I'm really excited
Love it.
to share that with you. And the other exciting bit of news that we've got is we've got some proper she change history news, haven't we?
We have.
So wonderful Simon, another She Changed History host, he and his lovely wife Kat have welcomed their new baby into the world, which is wonderful. Everyone's doing well. Mum, baby, dad, we think, is doing well. And her name is Adeline. And yes, it's just a really happy. There's lots of photo spam, isn't there, of like
Oh
baby
yeah.
spam, and it's just full of love, and it's just the most adorable thing.
It's such a nice, lovely thing to have a gorgeous bit of news like that to share.
Yes,
We're
it's
all
just
so
happy,
happy.
happy news. The choir chat is blowing up. It's just all these little old ladies swooning over Adelaide. It's the cutest thread. So,
When she finally gets introduced properly to the choir in person, it's going to have to
oh
be
my
like
God.
there'll have to be a security perimeter
Yeah,
because it will be a full-on stampede.
it's going to be an event. Like they're going
Yeah,
to need to plan that. Yeah,
maybe they
100%.
should be on stage so that people can't, get too close because it's going to
That
be
feels a bit
intense.
Jesus-y. That feels like you would with Jesus. Don't
Or
think
the
we want to
Lion
ego
King.
boost her. Oh my God.
She's a baby. She won't remember. It'll be fine. Lion King that baby up.
Yeah,
Show
I like
everybody.
that. And then we can all sing chorally to her. That'd be cool. But between now and then, would you like to hear a story? Does that sound good?
Yes, please.
Wonderful. So imagine a glint in the stone, a shape emerging unlike anything the world has ever seen. The thrill of unearthing a creature from a forgotten age. A true pioneer, Mary Anning, brought never seen before dinosaurs to light. Yet picture the sting, the injustice, when your monumental discoveries, born of your own grit and genius, are credited to others, simply because you are a working class woman in a man's world. This is her story. So, sources today are lots of National History Museum articles, because of course, a BBC article. The Times did a really good kind of not so much about Mary, but about British beaches in general. Strange Science, Berkeley University have an article, and a really good blog. I just wanted to check this one out called Fossil Bias blog, which is all about sexism in paleontology, which is just such a cool
Wow.
blog. I know. So let me introduce you to Mary. So Mary was born in the southwest English county of Dorset, which I'm going to this weekend. And so it's all meant to be. It's all
How
meant
it's
to.
just all coming together.
Oh, I didn't know that. And this is in 1799. So this is a period where George III was on the throne. Napoleon was being Napoleon. Lots there. And also it was around the time that Jane Austen was writing her work, so Sense and Sensibility. So the town that Mary was born in was called Lyme Regis. And it's a small coastal town in Dorset and what we call the Jurassic Coastline. And the reason we call it Jurassic will become very, very clear shortly. I've got a little quote about Mary and her upbringing, if you'd like to read it for me.
Yeah, you bet. Mary Anning was three things you did not want to be in 19th century Britain. She was female, working class, and poor, says campaigner Anya Pearson.
So Anya Pearson will come up later, but yes, she was those three things. So she was female, working class, and poor. I think that just shows the hardship she was up against, whatever Mary wanted to do. On top of that, her family were very religious, but they were Protestant, who separated from the Church of England. So there was a lot of prejudice around that community in general at that
Boy,
time. Yeah.
every
And
direction. Like
Oh my
she's
gosh, yeah,
getting,
just give the gal a break. Mary's father, Richard, was a cabinet maker, but he was also an amateur fossil collector. Very telling. And by the time Mary was like primary school age, like 5 or 6, she was out helping him, like, because what else are you going to do with this child when you've got to go and do things? Her dad took her on these little adventures, which was very unusual at the time for these Georgian girls growing up in this quite oppressive society. So it was her dad who taught Mary how to look for, how to clean fossils, how to display them in the right way, and all this kind of stuff. And he actually sold some in his shop. So that was a very important income for the family because these fossils were very new at the time, right? And this kind of time in Britain is very it's very interesting for science in general in the educated spheres, but it's also a really important time for Gothic literature is coming up and all these kind of interests in different spaces. So it was kind of a bit of a novelty feature, but if you're on the coastal town in Britain, there will be people to sell that too.
the resourcefulness of say that they are living in a seaside town, they've got these fossils, so they make the most of what they've got. And perhaps if they'd been living someplace else, it would have been someplace else, something else. But yeah, just as much as teaching her how to find and look after fossils, he's teaching her how to survive and make the most of what the world gives you.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. It's harvesting off the land, isn't it? It's the
Mm,
same as if you were a farmer, the same if you had a bunch of apple trees in your garden. Of course, you're gonna.
yeah.
And it was a lifeline for this family in terms of financial income. Absolutely hit the nail on the head. So Mary had little education, which wasn't unusual for working class girls of the time. She was able to read, which was like tick, one up, brilliant. But on top of that, she taught herself geology and anatomy. So she studied in her own time, off her own back. No one was asking her to do this. She was just fascinated and wanted to learn, and which I'm there for it, absolutely. Her dad suddenly died in 1810 from TB. And Joseph, her brother, took up a post as an apprentice in upholstering, which kind of leans into that cabinet building that her father did. And it was Molly, actually, her mother, who really encouraged Mary to keep finding these fossils because they needed the money and they needed to pay off some debt. So it was Molly who was like, it's on you now, like off you go hunting kind of thing. As I alluded to earlier, you think, well, who's buying these fossils? Who's interested in them? And it's a really interesting time in British history, is that it's the first time the British seaside holiday really came to light. So British seaside holidays are quite a cultural kind of phenomenon now, aren't they? You think deck
Absolutely.
chairs on the beach, you think handkerchiefs on the head, you think um, what else do you think? Hooker duck, candy floss, donut, all that kind of silly. And a lifeline, like you say, for those small coastal towns up and down the country is such a British staple of culture for me.
Absolutely. And that was the type of thing that companies would organize, the company Beano, where they would hire a little bus and kind of get everybody loaded in with their family and off they'd all go to the seaside. I wonder if that's about the period where that sort of thing is starting to take off.
Yeah, and there's reasons for that. So one of the reasons is because Napoleon was out, you know, raging on, civilians were instead encouraged of going abroad, like taking a ship somewhere or doing something. It was encouraged for them to stay home. So they would flock to towns like Lyme Regis. Lyme Regis was very superior as well in terms of that it had a bathing machine, which is like, so you
Oh,
could
what?
public bath. So it's just like a public bath, I think. That's kind of how I read it. And there was one in Brighton, Great Yarmouth, Margate as well. And what really kind of put the cherry on the cake of the Great British Holiday was King George III in 1789 he could have gone anywhere in the world. He's the king of England, the British Empire. He chose to go to Weymouth for his summer holiday. And he
Well,
wanted to be on British soil. And that because of that, everyone wanted to do it too.
I mean, he's an influencer. He's getting out there, setting the trends.
Damn right, damn right.
He
And
might have been mad, but he was also mad for it on the
and
part of
it's
the party
carried
train.
on. And what are you going to do when you're on the beach? I don't think candy floss has been invented yet, so you're going to go fossil hunting. Basically, it became like a bit of a pastime. It was very fashionable for Jordans, so you can imagine in their attire going out and inspecting and things like that. So it turns out Mary was bang on trend, whether she wanted to be or not. Like I said, Mary started when she was 5 or 6. So over time, she got more refined at finding these fossils. Because I'm not being funny. Fossils aren't lying about. We are not collecting seashells right now. We are digging, we are hunting, we are diving into layers of rock. Okay, we're not just, going about with our little bucket. And actually, the work of fossil hunting is really hard work. Like it's effort, you have to carry heavy tools with you, you have to almost hike as well. Like the Jurassic coastline is not flat. Like it is hilly, it's dangerous.
The erosion of cliffs and stuff, it's even now there are signs everywhere just saying how dangerous it is to be
Don't
near
die.
those surfaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, you've got the English Channel thriving at you. You have to be skilled at this. You can't just bob along. Like, it's all right, the tourists like doing it for a day. And I'm not being funny, maybe finding the odd rock. But, like, actually, to do proper fossil hunting is really quite a huge undertaking. And for that to be your livelihood, you are relying on your skill of finding and hunting. Like, you don't know what's coming. It's not constant flow, is it, of income that's going to come your way. But her hard work did pay off. So I'm going to talk you through a few of her finds, three in detail, and they'll kind of take us through her life. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
So around 1811, Mary was 12, and it was actually Joseph who actually did the find. So he found this strange looking, creepy skull, and he didn't know what the skull was of, right? So it was quite narrow, quite long. And he was like, Mary, look at this. And she was like, well, what is it? And it was Mary then who searched and painstakingly dug the outline of this skeleton, right? And this skeleton just kept going and going and going. And by the time she was done, this skeleton that she had uncovered, it deep in rock, right? Dirty and on her own in her little bonnet, she managed to find a 5.2 meter long skeleton.
Oh my God. That's
Can you
like
imagine?
15 feet long. So a car, a
Like two
modern car.
cars? Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
I think two
Of
cars.
probably two compact cars. That's
Yeah.
crazy. And that act of taking it out of the rock without damaging it, and the
It took
anxiety of
months. Oh my
somebody could
God,
come and
yeah.
find it and steal it away. Oh my
Yeah, yeah,
God.
yeah. That's so true, actually.
High
And
drive.
this took months as well. So by the time she discovered it, everyone in town kind of knew what she was doing. How you actually fossil hunt is that you have big tools and you have little tools. So you have hammers and chisels that remove the top layer of the rock and the soil, and that layer is called the overburden. So that's quite big hacking kind of ability. And then after you've got that top layer off, you go further in and you go with like more delicate tools. So you go dental picks, you go knives, brushes, that kind of thing, to remove the surrounding material. But what you do is follow the natural plane of the rock and the bone. So you find weaknesses in the rock. So that's how you kind of chip around the bone. It's like just chipping out the weakest part. So that's how you preserve the bone. So that is a skill, right? You can't just
It
be
really
bashing in there,
is.
right, with your chisel. And also, like you said earlier, these are so fragile. These and not wanting to break them and not wanting, they've been preserved for millions of years, and here's you with this hammer coming in.
As well, like if you were handed a rock and you were told there is a bird's skull inside this rock, you've got a mental image of what that skull might look like because you have textbooks and you went to science class and you have the internet. But this is a 12-year-old kid in Georgian times who maybe might have seen a picture in a book if she was very, very lucky. So
Yeah.
she's working on her intuition and looking really, really carefully if she's not to damage this thing. That's an incredible thing to need to do without any mental image of what you're actually going to try to
Mm.
get out of that rock.
Yeah. And on top of all that, she's 12. Like
12.
it's
Just the
wild.
idea of a little 12-year-old kid wailing away with a pick trying to break up a rock. That's craziness.
Absolutely. So she very carefully and very accurately, with that skill we just spoke about, uncovered this massive skeleton. And obviously, scientists got wind of this, right, in London. And they initially thought it must have been some kind of crocodile. And they also assumed at that time, because it was completely unrecognizable, it must be migrated of some far off land. Like they saw it as like foreign in a mysterious way. The term far off land makes me think of like Arabian Nights and kind of things like that, just
Oh,
completely
see, I'm
unrecognizable
thinking
territory.
Napoleon's spy crocodiles. That's the, but no,
You've picked
that
up on three words I've said.
I'm, that's the headline for me.
There we go.
But no, that I understand. They kind of looked at it and went, well, don't know what that is. Must have come here from far away. It's something exotic. Like, yeah,
Yes,
that's
yeah, that's it. You got the vibe. And this was debated about what the skeleton was for years, right? It was this kind of perplexing creature that they uncovered. And in the end, they actually named it themselves. They were like, well, it must be new. It must be something we haven't had before. So they named it the um I'll probably butcher this, but we'll give it a go. Ichthyosaurus, which means fish lizard. That's literally what it means. Because they couldn't make their mind up if it was a fish or a lizard. So they were like,
why
well,
not
we'll
just
call it
call it
both,
both? Fish
you
lizard
know?
covers all your bases.
And they eventually determined that it lived 201 to 194 million years ago.
Oh my
And Mary
God.
just dug that up. Pretty cool. Fun fact, these fish lizards are still being discovered today. So as recently as 2021, one was uncovered in Rutland Water Nature Reserve after a lagoon island was drained out for landscaping, and that it took 2 months to excavate that one as well. And that is with modern technology doing that. So
That's,
that just
and
shows you what
presumably
Mary's up against.
not 12-year-olds either. Like that's so
Yeah.
impressive.
I know. I've got a little quote there from a paleontologist who worked on that Rutland discovery, if you want to read
Aye.
that out.
Dr. Dean Lomax, a paleontologist who specializes in ichthyosaurs, says Britain is the birthplace of ichthyosaurs. Their fossils have been unearthed here for over 200 years, with the first scientific findings dating back to Mary Anning and her discoveries along the Jurassic Coast.
And it's all because of Mary.
That is incredible. I have a fondness for ichthyosaurs because when I was really small, I had a book that mom bought that had dinosaurs, and that was the like the facing inside the book. I think the first picture inside the cover was this ichthyosaur skeleton, and now I know that that was like a shout out to our girl. That's incredible.
Woohoo!
Woo.
Love it. So Mary keeps on digging. This is her livelihood, remember? So she's letting the scientists hash it out and she carries on. And in 1823, Mary was again the first person. So this is twice now. She's the first person to discover a complete skeleton of a plesiosaurus, which translates, it's less exciting. It just means near to a reptile, something near reptile, right?
Stylish.
Um, yeah, this is another quote just about this one for me, if that's okay.
It is distinguishable by its small head, long and slender neck, broad turtle-like body, a short tail, and two pairs of large elongated paddles. It lends its name to the order Plesiosauria, of which it is an early but fairly typical member.
This is probably my favorite one out of the three because it just looks like a diplosaurus, like underwater. So if you scroll down a little bit,
Oh, that
that's
guy.
what they think it's gonna like. Yeah, but doesn't he look just fab? Just
He's having a
what a
great
beast.
time. He's
Yeah, with
just
his
swishing
paddles, like
through.
with his fins, it's pretty amazing.
Just
Um,
supremely adapted to his environment, isn't he?
And like the size of that, even in that image just there, you're like, that is a beast.
So
That is
those
like,
things he's chasing in that photo. Yes, that
oh
photo.
dear.
Let's try that again. The things he's chasing in that what is clearly an illustration, are they supposed to be full-size squid? Because he is a unit. if that's true.
I think so. I agree. I think
Holy
that's true.
cow. Okay, that's a
Yeah.
big old skeleton for a now, what, 13, 14-year-old girl to
Yeah.
be
So
excavated.
it's about 3 meters long. So that kind of makes sense, doesn't
Oh
it?
my God.
Yeah.
Mm,
So I just think it's so cool. So Mary, to make up this skeleton, again, digging and chiseling in all weathers. This is an all year round job. In her big skirt, she's not even in like mountain gear or anything. She's like in
oh,
this big fluffy skirt and bonnet. So she uncovered 600 pieces of bone that made up the skeleton. And that it's 600 pieces of bone. So it's not like the Plesiosaurus is made up of 600 bones. It's just that bones
right.
break, right? Yeah.
Right. Okay, I'm with you.
But she uncovered them all and she worked out it was all together. She understood that it was one beast. Again, this is not a small job. This is humongous. What is she uncovering? And that she's doing it piece by piece by hand. I would not have the patience. I don't have the attention span.
He must have been physically quite strong as well, because the just getting like individual bits of a 9 meter long, like presumably the skull, the vertebrae, they're all going to be super, super heavy.
Yeah,
So yeah. Wow.
100%. Yeah. So it was a strange specimen to uncover. And again, news spreads because it's like, what on earth is this? It's the excitement, it's the craziness of it. And to be honest, in the beginning, they thought it was a girl just making it up for attention, for
Oh,
media, for money. And this just shows the sexism in all of this. It just shows again how Mary is not being properly welcomed into the world of paleontology because she's a female. That's the reason. Because she's doing the work, she's taught herself, she's uncovered the work, she's sharing the work, which is so important in science, isn't it? There's no point uncovering something if you just keep it to yourself. And again, she's just not allowed in at all.
it's that same thing with, see, Cadwallader, that she had these tales of her adventures, and rather than people going, "Oh, that's so interesting," it was like, "Yeah, no, that didn't happen." And at least Mary Anning was able to go, "Here it is. Like, here's the skeleton. I didn't
A
make it."
complete skeleton.
Like, yeah,
Not even
right.
like I've made a bit up. This is the whole freaking animal I've given you. I've given you. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yes, you're right. It was completely disputed. And it was even disputed by Georges Cuvier, who is a very important man in paleontology history. He is like considered the grandfather of paleontology. He's the guy who made the field, started the field, and how it relates to modern day. He was a French zoologist, but also a statesman. So he's also very high in terms of ranking. He's described as one of the finest minds in history. It's also important just to reference that Cuvier is also remembered as a racist, an egomaniac, and had a reputation that intimidated others. So just a bit of a dick. He's
Okay.
just one of
See,
those kind of guys.
that might account for him, despite having this obvious interest and passion in his field, being willing to wholesale discount a discovery for no good reason other than he
Mm.
wasn't that keen on who happened
A
to have
girl
discovered
found
it.
it. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And having been on social media far too much this week, reading some of the comments under the Lionesses wins, it's the same. It's exactly the
yeah,
same. You know what I
no,
mean?
thank you.
Yeah, 100%. The Ichthyosaurus caused so much uproar and media frenzy, if you like, that a special meeting was held because no one could believe Mary or could work out if Mary was telling the truth or not. So a special meeting was scheduled at the Geological Society of London because it was a big thing happening in the industry and quite a infantile industry. And this is like a potentially a life-changing discovery what's happened. And to be honest, these meetings are quite common in medicine. You know, people need to get together and they need to talk about it. But guess what? Mary was not invited to this meeting, heavens above, even though she's the only freaking person who found it and was near it and was actually looking at it in like that much detail. The Geological Society of London refused to admit her for this meeting, but also didn't admit any women into the society until 1904.
Oh, it's such a missed opportunity. It's such a a shame because, yeah, just think how much
Mm,
more could have been achieved if we had
yeah,
all the people had been welcome
yeah.
to the table.
And also, Mary found this, and a woman found this, and it also took them 80 years to then be like, maybe we should invite them in then. There was an 80-year gap between Mary and 1904. Anyway, so at this meeting, after lengthy debate, Cuvier admitted to his mistake and that the skeleton was a genuine skeleton. Please note, he did not apologise to Mary.
No, he's a bit of a turd, so that isn't entirely surprising, but
Still
still
annoying. Just be
disappointing.
polite. Be
Yeah.
polite. Yet, despite Mary's growing reputation for finding and identifying fossils, the scientific community was hesitant to recognise her work. What did they do instead of recognising her work, Cara?
Not gonna like it.
They claim credit for her work instead.
That is outrageous. It's just theft.
Yes, absolutely. It's just, and it's like we saw in the paintings, like we saw of Judith. They miss, and what you would say today is misattributed, which is not true either. It's stolen, 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 stolen. So male scientists who frequently bought the fossils from Mary, would pop to her shop and buy some. Mary was the one who uncovered these fossils, cleaned them, prepared them, identified them. I'm not being funny, she even did like detailed illustrations of them to like map them because recording it is such an important part of paleontology. It's not just the finding, the identifying, the digging, it is then recording this for future generations. So she was a very talented illustrator on top of everything else. They buy all this off Mary and then would not credit her in scientific papers, even when talking about the ichthyosaur that we spoke about earlier. So even that one where, it was even then, that's quite a cool story, isn't it? These two 12 and a 10-year-old like finding this. Like they didn't even spin it that way. You know what I mean? They
No.
just took credit, took credit.
I guess they
Um,
were thinking, like, who's gonna know? Well, joke's on you, chump, because we know. We know now. And
she changed history 2025 now. Yes,
that's
that's who
right.
knows. Did they not think
We're
about this?
very disappointed in you. Hmm.
But that didn't stop Mary. Of course it didn't, because like all our women in all our podcasts, she carried on. She was resilient. She needed food on the table and nothing was going to stop her. So she carried on searching across the dangerous Jurassic coastline. But she was just a little side note, she always had the company of her trusted and loyal companion, Trey the dog. So Trey, we think, is kind of like a spaniel type dog. He's depicted in the only illustration we have of Mary. He's like curled up next to her in the painting of Mary, the portrait of Mary. And we don't know much about Trey, but you just know. Can you see them just bobbing along this coastline together?
Oh, he's having a
Going
great
on
time.
adventures. Oh my God. And she's having a great time, just fabulous. We don't have to imagine how saddened she was by his death in 1833 when a landslide that nearly killed Mary as well caught Trey. And again, just
Oh,
showing how dangerous this work that she's doing is because it is a dangerous coastline. We know a bit about Trey because she then wrote a heartfelt letter to her friend, Charlotte Murchison, telling her about Trace and how it made her feel.
oh, that's so
Um,
sad.
it
Oh,
is so sad, but it's such an important part of who Mary is. And also, I imagine he was so good at navigating for her, like spaniels are, and protecting. And you can just imagine it, can't you? It's so sweet. Today there is a book out there about Mary's life, told from Trey's the dog's perspective.
oh, how
I
cute
know,
is that? Oh my God.
I know, because dogs are the best.
It's such
um,
lonely work and just have a little buddy with you and, you
Helping
know,
you along.
frolicking about,
Yeah,
keeping the vibe up. Love it.
companion, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, it's very five went on a picnic or something, isn't it? You can
Yeah,
totally kind of get that
wholesome.
vibe around it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So now we move on to the third discovery I want to talk about today. So in 1828, Mary again uncovered a strange jumble of bones, it says in this article, which is a great line. Because it also shows that she's just finding these odd things and then piecing them together. Like it's really, really quite fascinating. But this time, she uncovered some bones, but in a formation that she hadn't seen before, and she worked out they were actually wings.
Oh.
So we're moving away from lizards and things into winged beings. Once again, news travelled fast. So scientists from London to Paris found out about her winged discovery. And then they began to theorize on what this was. I would say this about Mary. She knows how to create a buzz. Like people, she's like, here we go, boys. We found another thing. Off we go. And I'm not even, it does sound genuinely exciting.
Awe-inspiring, I think, to be the first person to lay eyes on something in millions of years.
Absolutely. So casually, she found the first ever pterodactyl. Just as she do. Just casually. At the time, it wasn't called pterodactyl, so they called it a dimorphodon, which was the first type of pterosaur to be discovered outside of Germany. And then the idea of they recoined it pterodactyl, which is what we know later. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I don't know. The Again, she wasn't allowed to publish this finding at all. Instead, William Buckland, who was Oxford's first geology professor, presented this fossil to the Society of Paleontology and then casually took credit for it.
Feeling like there's some classism coming up here. Like in your intro, you said about the things that she was being working class as part of this, because it's like, oh, you're just an ignorant laborer who's dug some rocks up.
Yeah.
We'll take it from here. And it's almost using that lack of status to sort of like write her out of the picture and just
100%.
ignore her contribution. He wasn't out there working and looking and using
As
his
if.
skills
Can
and
you imagine?
knowledge. No.
No,
Old
sorry. It's
Willie
very
B.
Downton Abbey, isn't it? It's upstairs, downstairs.
It's pretty gross.
Mary also discovered like a ray-like fish, squalla ray. Again, she found it, just produced a really high quality sketch of the fossil, so that illustration piece coming in again.
Oh.
But she was still not allowed to be part of the academic community around this. And again, people are debating what this squid ray-like fossil thing was without her in the room. It's insane. I've included an illustration just to show you what she was producing, like the
That
quality.
is incredibly detailed, really beautiful illustrative work.
Yeah. I really took that from it as well. Like these are beautiful. Like imagine that on your wall. It's pretty exciting, isn't it? It's pretty cool.
Even the penmanship is quite exciting, to be honest.
Oh yeah,
the
better than
whole
mine.
thing. But
Jesus.
for them to see that quality of self-taught work and not think this is somebody whose opinion we really need to get in, just goes to show how fragile and petty these men were. That's tragic. What a loss.
What a loss. And I think also her passion for it wasn't just the big, exciting stuff she was interested in. Like her passion for this as a field really comes through, because she was even finding these like cone shaped rocks on the beach, and she found them every so often. They were getting washed up when she was out there with Trey, and they were clearly not pebbles. They were clearly not the kind of limestone pebbles that you get on the coastline. And she kept finding them, and she kept cracking them open with her hammer, because she's interested, right? She's actually wanting to contribute to this society that is cutting her out. And what she found when she opened them with a hammer is that they tended to be full of fish bones, right? And she also noticed that they would congregate in the middle sections of her findings, of her skeletons. And what she put together was the fact that it's basically dinosaur poop. That's what she was putting together, right? So what she's known then is actually what they're eating. That's something we didn't know because we've only just found these fossils. So she even worked that out as well. And it was her who suggested that to William Buckland, because she contacted him because she knows him, that she found these stones and that she actually thinks they're feces. And now that is a whole section of paleontology. Like there's a whole dedicated arm of paleontology, and to they call it coprolites now. But she basically found that arm of paleontology. She was the one who made that connection. Like, come on, she's making waves in all these different realms, even if it is dinosaur poo.
Well, it's what happens when a suitably curious mind comes to the fore, that somebody says, what else? What else is going on? What can I find out?
Yes,
What's that thing? That passion and drive
yes.
and curiosity. And I think it can be the case that that leads a person to formal education, or when those opportunities aren't there, it can be the case that she's out there with a hammer discovering poo.
And despite this discovery, Buckland still receives more credit today than she ever does in this coprolite kind of arm of paleontology, and that is due to the bias the blog I mentioned earlier really focuses on. Mary continues to unearth seriously fossil after fossil after fossil because she's selling these, but also she's discovering them. The other contribution, outstanding contribution that she has made to this field is fueling public interest in geology, in paleontology. People were interested about because of what she was finding and that it was exciting. And you had this tourist piece that I spoke about earlier. And then suddenly, fossil museums started to become a thing. And there was a point where she was struggling to keep up with the demand of the museums because so many people were interested in it. And there's a little quote there which kind of touches a little bit on this tussle we've got between her wanting to survive and eat, and this is her livelihood, but also against the I want to be part of this realm that I'm not allowed in, and I'm banging on the door. So if you could read that for us, that'd be cool.
But she was a commercial fossil hunter. She had to sell what she found. Therefore, the fossils tended to be credited to museums in the name of the rich man that paid for them, rather than the poor woman who found them. This isn't just about gender. The history of science is littered with the neglected contributions of working class scientists.
Which just shows
Mm.
how on the money you were with your insights earlier that you were spot on. This is just such a tussle of science. So it's really important to know, which I found in one of the articles, that everything we know about Mary is basically based on really poorly cited and poorly referenced material written decades after her death, because, very importantly, because she wasn't allowed in. So no one was making notes, no one was documenting her contributions, no one was diarising it. Mary never got to publish her own material. But she did write many letters and journals, which we kind of referenced earlier with Trey. But these letters and journals were often mishandled and lost by museums because they weren't deemed important enough. For
Oh,
example, a personal letter of Mary's was marked by the British Museum as quote unquote lacking importance. I know, and you just know that they weren't doing this with the men's discoveries and the men's personal letters and everything. I know that you just know they're not. It's so frustrating. And what else have we lost because of people being sexist, like with Post, for heaven's sake? And some of the fossils that she's found has also been lost because they were founded by a woman and they were just not deemed as important. So they just got either tossed out or archived and never found. There's a really strong quote here that just shows what I'm trying to get at in the world of museums.
we often assume that any portrayal of a woman scientist is representation. Is it really representation if we rely on heavily mythologized versions of women that are not based in fact?
Yeah, so what this is kind of getting at is this idea of um they saw Mary as playing with sandcastles almost, and just like a little girl toddling along the beach, and she's just stumbled across, and she just got lucky. It kind of makes her sound really childish, and because of what we know of her, that's how sometimes she comes across. They're presented as a fairy tale in a way. But I'm not being funny. That's how I found Mary originally. Was that there was a book in a charity shop, and I was looking through it. It was what it was called, but it was very much one of those books where each page had each page had a woman on it, and it was beautiful illustrations, and it was like, and it's presented in childlike language because it is a
Hmm.
children's book. But that's how I found Mary. And it's like, oh, come on. You know what I mean? Like, I should have found Mary a different way. And I should have
Or
found,
there should have been like a next level where when you were a teen and you were in school, you were told more about, in more detail, that sort of like circular curriculum where you get age appropriate supplementary.
yes, this is
So,
my dream. My dream is to mess up the history curriculum. And like, this is what I want this to be. I don't want to spend 6 weeks on World War One. Yes, it's important, but there's so much other more history out there. And it's taken me until like, what, I'm 30, whatever now, to really dig into this part of me that loves these stories, right? Because I wasn't allowed to at school. So you're totally right. There should have been a next level up, 100%. Anyway, I've totally gone off a tangent because I'm angry. I'm just an angry
I love
person.
your rage. No, it's driving excellent
So much
things. Keep
anger.
being angry. It's good. It's good.
Um, so Mary died in 1847. She was only 47 years old. She tragically died of breast cancer. Imagine what more she could have done. She didn't. And she did, unfortunately, suffer financial strain throughout her life. The Natural History Museum actually does showcase now several of Mary's finds, including the skeletons that we spoke about today. And her legacy does live on throughout the Jurassic Coast, which I'm going to this weekend. So I cannot wait to find out about that. It's going to be amazing. The Jurassic Coast is now a UNESCO site of World Heritage, and it's where scientists, amateurs, and adventurous children alike gather around all year round to hunt for the next big find. We've ended with the statue of Mary that is there. Maybe I can go see it this weekend. That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Oh, that'd be
And you
amazing.
can you see Trey in the
I
statue?
can.
He made it to
Oh.
the statue. So this is the statue that that lady you quoted at the beginning, Anya Pearson, campaigned for. So she managed to get this bronze statue.
I'm so
And
glad.
it
She
is
looks
pretty.
wonderful.
And I love the little detail of the fossils on her hemline. Can you see that? It's pretty special.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And we've just got a little quote to end.
She was not a simple-minded countrywoman selling seashells by the seashore.
Yay! And that is the story of Mary Anning.
Thank you so much. That really adds depth to how she found what she found. That thing, it's so easy to think she's just fluked into these things, but she had to understand in order to keep going. And
And
well,
sweat and bleed
oh,
and fall and tumble and I bet her knees were sore as. Can you
yeah.
imagine? I struggle with a bit of gardening, mate. She'd like her knees would have been rock hard.
Oh,
Pun.
when you're at the beach and your like feet get wet and the sand stick to them, it's so icky. And the idea of being out there in long trailing skirts day after
Yeah.
day, damp and sandy. Ugh. But she cared. She wanted to do the work. And here we are talking about her hundreds of years
Yay.
later. So
I love it. I
thank you
love it.
very
Love it.
much for
Love it.
bringing that.
Thank you for listening to this episode of She Changed History. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Find us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you've got any ideas of women you'd like us to cover in a future episode, please comment on the socials or email us at shechangedhistory@gmail.com. Catch you next time.